My business coach asked me a while ago, do you have an org chart for your business? What are your tasks in your business? So I created an org chart for my content creation. A lot of people, when they think about content creation, they think that content creation is coming up with an idea, recording that idea, or maybe typing it out, depending on if it's going to be visual, auditory, tactile, so forth. And then they share it. And what I found is that there's kind of a lack of success in this type of content creation, which is I come up with an idea, I record it, and I share it. Typically, this is happening over a few months. I keep making blog articles, YouTube videos, and no clients. Like I'm waiting for phone calls. We're actually creating content for people who we want to know in the future, but we haven't been really thoughtful about who they are, and also, of course, not engaging with them. At the end to actually create some type of call to action. And in financial planning, financial advisors, like we're in a relationship business, transitioning from transactions to relationships as we move from product, investment and insurance product sales to financial planning relationships. We're going to go through each of these steps, and you can adapt this quote unquote org chart to really any type of content creation, whether it's starting a YouTube channel, doing a blog, putting out tweets, Instagram, TikTok, selling IULs, whatever you want to do. This is a way that you can kind of create your structure. And by the way, that was a joke. So let's just talk through about like, what is this org chart? And if you were to create your own, what would that look like? What am I calling the task that I'm doing? The second box just explains it in a little bit more detail, like what does that task entail? And then lastly, if I had a person in my organization, in my business, what would I call them? So I came up with imagine, research, design, capture, proof, share, and engage. And I called those people, the dreamer, the investigator, the illustrator, the author, the red penciler, the distributor, and advocate. To go through this pretty quickly, I'm going to talk about how I use this kind of framework to create my Measure Twice Money video course. The month of February, I created a 5-hour video course for DIY investors, non-advisors, consumers, a 5-hour video course on how to create your own financial plan, 38 video lessons. So I want to go through this org chart kind of step by step, talking about how I determined how to create this video course. So the first one, let's start with imagine. The first thing that you have to do before you even come up with ideas, right? This says envision new content ideas and ways to provide more value. If you're jumping right into creating content without thinking about your audience, you're kind of doing things backwards. The joke I say is it's like wiping before you go to the bathroom. It just doesn't make sense. Doing things in the wrong order. The first step in imagining is actually imagining and identifying your audience. I call this your audience of one. When you launch your business, imagine if the first prospective client to come through the door was the perfect client, that first client was the ideal, what I call the ideal client avatar. Who do you serve? How do you serve those people? Right. So before you can create content, you have to understand who your audience is. I talked to somebody earlier today. He was a little anxious about creating content. He was overwhelmed in creating content. And I think that a lot of the overwhelm comes from creating content for people you don't know yet. And when that happens, you start to think of this pool of infinite people that may or may not like your content, may or may not gel with it or reach out in the future. So you're kind of creating content for everybody. And I mentioned that if you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing to nobody effectively. If you really define an audience of one, not only does it make your content more relevant to who you want to serve, but it also reduces your imposter syndrome and reduces your anxiety. My Measure Twice Money course was created with this idea of a married couple with, 1 or 2 young kids making over $150,000. They're out of credit card debt. They spend less than they make. They're pretty intentional about aligning their money with their values. Once I knew that I wasn't going to be, serving people who had, outstanding, consumer debt or credit card debt, I wasn't going to focus a lot of my content about helping people eliminate their 30% credit cards, 30% APR credit cards. So I asked things like, what are their preferred learning styles? So when I'm creating a course, I think are they auditory, visual, tactile learners? Do they like to read? I'm really creating content for people who are visual and tactile. So, they like videos, they like supplemental visuals, things like that. But they also really want to get their hands dirty. They want to go from knowing the concepts and the rules, but also having an idea of practical application. So I was like, okay, I want to make a video course where there's a lot of video, there's a lot of supplemental visuals, and also I'm going to give them something tactile. So I actually gave them calculators and templates so they could actually put what they're learning to work. Another question I have here is where and how is your audience currently consuming educational content? the people that I want to serve or the people I want to help with this video course, like where do they currently get their information from? Right? Are they watching Ramit Sethi's YouTube videos? Are they subscribed to the Kitsis articles? Right? I would kind of back up there and say most of us want to serve the previous version of ourselves, the current version of ourselves, or the future version of ourselves. There's a good chance that you know somebody like that, whether it's a family, a family member, a friend, a client you've worked with before. Again, with the client avatar here, if you've already worked with somebody who's like that perfect client or like that the type of people you want to spend your time with and energy with, ask them, say, hey, like when you're trying to learn more about this topic that I'm knowledgeable about, like where do you go? Like, do you read articles? Do you go to blogs? Do you read out of like a physical newspaper? Do you read newsletters? You get stuff in the mail? Do you go to steak dinners? Figure out where people hang out to understand the types of content that's out there, but also find out what's good about the content that they're consuming. But also, are there any missed opportunities? The last question I have here is, what does your audience already know? Which content already exists that's serving them? And are you already engaged there? The next step was really identifying what do I want to teach? So now that I know who I want to help, how do I want to help them and what do I want them to know? You'd have to come up with a list of learning objectives, right? So what do you want your audience to understand upon the completion of your video course or your content? I want to change the public perception of financial planning within my community, within DIY investors. I want them to understand that financial planning goes beyond investments and that even a DIY investor can create a financial plan, whether you hire a financial advisor or not. So I effectively said, okay, well, I'm just going to break down my entire financial planning process into modules. So similarly to a CFP program, this is called the current financial ecosystem. Kind of the things you learn in the fundamentals class, cash flow and debt management, learning a balance sheet, mortgages, debt, various types of debt, how to review a pay statement, employee benefits, right? Then we have savings and investments, taxable, pre-tax, and tax-free assets and accounts. Then we have risk management and insurance, how to calculate and review all these areas, life insurance, disability, health, long-term care, Medicare, property casualty, and so forth. And then retirement planning. Again, we could really go into the weeds here, but I said, what do I want my audience to know, right? I'm not really going to go into a ton of detail. They already have a fundamental understanding. So I'm kind of going from beginner to intermediate level education. What do I want this person to know once they've completed this lesson? So I think you can start with like kind of typing out your learning objectives. This is all created in Excel, of course, because I'm a nerd. But once you have your learning objectives, then you can start scripting. And then ultimately, you don't have to name the lesson until you're actually pretty much at the end of your course. So I changed the names of these lessons, numerous times. Also, you can ask yourself, which actions do I want my audience to take? Once they've finished consuming your course and hopefully understanding what you're teaching them, like what's the call to action, right? Is it to do something by themselves? Is it to do something with you? Is it to reach out and set up that free consultation? Maybe buy like a next level course or some type of group coaching program or a group financial planning program? Is there a one-on-one call to action, a one-to-many call to action, or just that you want them to start implementing what they're learning by themselves? So you can add quizzes, you can make things manageable and measurable along the way. If you put your whole video course into one 5-hour video, there's a good chance they're not going to make it through. But if you break down that, you can see here, this is a 5-hour video course, but the average lesson is 7 minutes long. Binge watch the whole thing. They could watch a module at a time for about an hour each, or they could just do one video. They say, hey, I'm going to create a balance sheet today. That's a 7-minute lesson that comes with a template that I can create my own balance sheet. So think about that too. I didn't even put this on my outline, but this idea of how do you make what you're teaching them like manageable and measurable so that they aren't like overwhelmed, especially if you're going to do a course that's this comprehensive. I'm going to jump into the next one, which is research. I always say that when you teach, you learn twice. I encourage every financial advisor, every financial planner, really every business owner to create content and create a video course, because it's not just for your audience, it's for you. During the research stage, again, what's already out there? What am I missing? Some of the research I did for my course was IRS publications, right? Making sure that I really understood, for example, like publication 590A, which is contributions to IRAs. Like, I just want to make sure, like, I'm pretty sure I know the rules about contributing to an IRA, but I want to make sure that I really understand, that spousal IRA rule, for example. Is it per person, per spouse, per household, like all those rules. So you really tighten your own knowledge. That also makes you less anxious and reduces your imposter syndrome when you're going to be creating content for an audience that may or may not know as much as you do. Because you're creating this for an ideal client audience avatar, but you don't actually know that person typically in reality. Brian asks, how do you balance evergreen info with timely expiration date info? That's a great question. I decided in the Measure Twice Money course, first of all, it really helped to break down the outline into individual lessons so that, let's say, the RMDs, like the age for RMDs changes. I talk about RMDs in the traditional versus Roth contributions part, for example. If the RMD ages change, I can either just re-record or just that one part of that video, or what I actually decided to do that's more helpful now is that create your course so that like during the course, you actually say, hey, and the current contribution limits for this year are linked below the video. And what's nice is so that way I never have to shoot the video again. I can just change the notes below the video. So in the traditional versus Roth, right, I might have a link to the IRS website for, the contribution limits for the current year. I would prefer to teach evergreen info based on what's currently known and within our control, while also creating a way for you to update the content without having to re-record the entire video with a brand, put the same shirt on, pretend you're this, have the same haircut as last time, right? But also don't be hard on yourself. If you need to change part of your course, like nobody's going to care if if you live in a different house with a different backdrop, or if your haircut, or if you're missing the mustache that was in the video before the video. Again, it might add some humor to your course, which is probably needed to begin with. So the next part in terms of after researching is designing, which I used to have designing out after capturing, but what I realized through doing the video course is that as I was scripting my video course, I thought it was actually helpful to create my supplemental visuals before recording, because I actually wanted to show some of those visuals. If I'm going to teach a video course on how to use a tool, I need to make sure I create the tool before I script and record the video, rather than telling somebody, show them, right? So if you can show somebody a concept, it's usually going to be more impactful than just telling them about it. Are there educational ideas that are easier to express with supporting visuals or tactile tools? Moving to capture, I think this is where people stop. Like, I don't think I have the right microphone. I don't have the right camera. Like, I don't have the right backdrop. Mine's not as symmetrical as Cody's. I don't know if I should wear headphones in the video. Should I buy a big old teleprompter like they have on that the politicians read off of? The next thing you'll actually do is script your course. My format for this is, record, script, record. And I put here, I wanted to show you, I don't think people realize this, but my video course, this is 147 pages of script. So this is my 5-hour video course in script form. This is the name of the video. I put in parentheses what I'm showing as I'm saying it. So during this part of the video, I'm on video and I'm saying this. And then again, I record this all as one take, not the whole course, but just this lesson. Okay, now I'm going to show my title page, and I'm going to say this. Or the recording was about 10 times longer than the actual video. So a 5-minute video might have ended up being 50 minutes just because I was like different, showing something, saying something, saying it again, because I felt like I didn't quite get it right. But what's nice is you don't have to get it right, right? You're not doing this live. Just keep going. Just like, re-say what you're going to say over and over again until you get it right. One 5-minute video actually had 50 clips in it by the time it was edited. So like, talk about paralysis by analysis and measuring twice. Like, I measured 50 times, to get a 5-minute video the way I wanted it, because I really do care about the quality control. In terms of recording tools, all you need is a camera. Literally everybody on this call who has their camera on has a camera. I'm using the Logitech, the 1080p, just the most common Logitech HD webcam. That's about $120 probably. Microphone, it could be a built-in microphone, but it's probably better that it's not built in, just because you get some of that electronic noise sometimes, or you can hear your fans from the computer spinning. I have a Shure. There's so many microphones that you can get a lavalier, or you can get one of those little clip-on mics, right? That makes it sound a lot more clear. But all you need really is a camera, a microphone, and video recording software. I recorded my entire video course in Zoom. My whole video course was just me on a call by myself in Zoom, and I pressed record. And by the way, if you're interested in doing that for your own course, what you do is it's just you on the screen. You actually stop your video. So I would click, stop video here, or it just shows your face or your icon. And that way, whenever you do a share screen, you're not on the video. It's just what you're showing is on the screen. If you want to be in the corner, you can just keep your video on as you share screen. But I found it easier to kind of jump back and forth between me being on video and just showing something with audio. I want to jump into iMovie. A lot of people are like, how do you edit all these videos yourself, Cody? On Mac, iMovie is included, I'm pretty sure, on Macs at this point. And then if you're on a PC, if you're on Windows 10, it's called Windows Video Editor. You do not need a special software. I think Canva, you can also edit videos on, but what I would do is I would just record the Zoom call to my computer. So not to the cloud, but to my computer. And then I literally just go to up here, you see this little toolbar, and I would just swipe in that Zoom automatically saves stuff to like your document Zoom folder. I would just drag it in here into like this top part and then drag it into my little timeline on the bottom. The entire course is just me going through. I actually, on the right side, this is iMovie, but it's the same with others, which is you can kind of zoom in and zoom out. So I actually start pretty zoomed out because let's say that I said the same sentence 10 times. I can just easily like get to the last time. I can follow my script and just go to the last time I said that thing. I can right click and click split clip and then delete the nonsense. So this 5-minute video on how to review an auto loan statement, this is a 5-minute video, but there are nearly 50 snips in this video. I just created this image in Canva, and then I just entered it just like I would import media, like a video. I just imported that Canva picture and then put it on my timeline. You can set how long, the intro. Literally, the intro is just a picture of my brand, and the outro is a picture of my brand. So that's how easy it is. I walked through 20 real financial documents, and I had to create kind of fake versions that have real financial information on them to be compliant, of course. There are a lot of LMSs or online learning management systems out there where you can upload your course. Some people just put their course onto YouTube for free, as like they can create a little series on YouTube. If you want to do a paid course, you're probably going to want to use one of the more formal ones that can includes invoicing, that connects to Stripe or PayPal. I use Kajabi, which might be overkill for some people, but Kajabi, what was nice about this is I wanted my educational platform to be separate from my firm. So that meant I had to create a separate website for education. Kajabi actually lets you, your website and your video course can be all in one place. So you see here on the left side, my website here. So I created the entire measuretwicemoney.com website here on Kajabi. I can also create a blog here. I can do all of my sales, so I can go down and I can, you can look at like the sales. You can look at all your offers. You can create different offers with different, you can create all the, infinite discounts. Like, hey, I can do like a financial independence sale on the, on Independence Day. You can manage your payments. But also what's cool about these systems is you can create a product, which is your video course. On the top, I just add content. I add either a module or a lesson, or you can also add quizzes. So I started with my modules. Like I laid out all my modules. And then I put each lesson within the module. So if I go into my create a balance sheet lesson, all I do is I name the lesson. I select which module it's in. I upload the video that I exported from iMovie or Windows Media Editor. I create a thumbnail, which is as easy as just creating a little, something in Canva. Took like 10 minutes, 10 seconds. You can add comments or not to your videos. You can add, there's the show notes I talked about where you can kind of, hey, here's a link to, the most recent, contribution limits, and you can upload your downloads. So you can upload all your templates, and you have calculators and extra tools like that. But it's amazing that you can piece it all together, and it's just called a product. And then all you do is go into sales. I go into offers, and I create an offer, and then just connect that. If I click new offer, right, you can say which product is included in that offer. Proofing is also like the editing and getting other people to look through your course. Hey, there were some mistakes I made that people told me before I launched the course. People were like, hey, I noticed that you said in the video link below, but you didn't actually put something linked below. Like I'm still like, fixing those tweaks, but you need feedback from people to make sure that you're measuring twice on your content. The last thing is share. The last two things: share, which is publish or post. That's really launching. There's this thing my business coach told me. It's called the 7 times rule. which is how can you say the same thing 7 times? So once you create a video course, let's say you created a 1-hour course. That course can be split up into so many different like little snips for different social media platforms. I can say it in text 7 different times. I could create an audio version, a video version. By the way, your video course, you could just strip the audio and maybe that becomes like a little audio bite on your social media page. Or like one image you created for the course becomes an image and infographic for Instagram. Find ways to recycle the same message 7 different ways, and you'll have like endless content, especially once you've created the course. And the second is try to find ways to share at least parts or even like big portion of your course with others without expecting something in return. I think that you'll actually end up being more successful if you give more to others without expecting something in return. Just try to get out of the habit of giving something away on social media and then ending it with set up a free consultation, or like, if you want to learn more, buy this. There's an idea of like, instead of give, take, try to give, give, take. Try to make 5 giving posts before you even ask for anything. Just because you want to create an expectation that you're not just creating content to sell something, you're creating content because you actually want to help that specific audience. Whether or not they work with you or not, whether or not they buy your product or not, you want to impact people beyond who signs up for your products and services. And the last part, engage. This is the biggest missing part from creating content in general, especially from advisors. They create content, they post it on social media, and 6 months later, they say, nobody's reached out. Let's say they post on Twitter this concept, like a little thread about backdoor Roth conversions for their audience. 17 people liked the post, 4 people retweeted it, and they never engaged with anybody who engaged with them. Create a relationship with the people who they've already they already shook your hand by liking your post or commenting on your post. Like, just not take advantage of them, but take advantage of that opportunity to build relationships with people who engage, especially when you're giving away content for free. Find ways to receive feedback, again, honest feedback, suggestions, and the testimonials